To many Nigerians, the name Derico Nwanmama represents chilling terror. To others who were lucky not to have encountered him, their only idea of him has remained the fearful role played by ace Nollywood actor Ofiefolo Agumbaka in one of Nollywood's blockbusters. Nigeria has had her fair share of notable armed robbers and killers, the likes of Lawrence Anini, who dealt with the entire south-south region of Nigeria. Derico Nwanmama, born Okwudili Ndaiwi, held the entire southeast region of Nigeria to a standstill, especially Anambra State. Derico from an early age started out as a street urchin in Onitsha. He was a petty thief and went about picking pockets and stealing from shop owners. Soon enough, he graduated to an armed robber and a dreaded criminal whose name sent shivers down the spine of every human living in the entire southeast region of Nigeria. Long before Derico became famous for his exploits in the city of Onitsha and environs, the entire Anambra State was under the control of another ruthless, merciless, and cold-blooded armed robber known as Chien. Chien was a notorious and dreaded armed robber. Under his reign with the members of his gang, all residents of Onitsha and its environs were living in fear and terror. A policeman once told a horrifying story about Chien. He said that on 16th of February, 1999, 2 days after Valentine's celebration, Chien, acting on a tip-off, besieged a family in Onitsha hoping to get money from the father of the house, but unfortunately, the father didn't come home with money. He had gone to the bank before going home that day. Chien, enraged by the fact that he couldn't get any money out of the family, grabbed a 4-month-old baby boy belonging to the family and threatened to throw him down from a 3-story building. When the man and his wife were not forthcoming with his demands because they had no money at home, he proceeded to throw the little baby down from the 3rd story, killing him instantly. He proceeded to shoot the man twice in the head. Reports also had it that he forced families to have incest in front of him for his own amusement. He forced fathers to sleep with their daughters and mothers to sleep with their sons. Refusal meant certain death. Derico and Chien were very good friends at that time and also colleagues in the armed robbery business, but Derico was not based in Onitsha at that time. He was based in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, and only visited eastern Nigeria occasionally to carry out his robbery operations with maximum terror. He was a terror even to the Nigerian police. Many a time, after raining a torrent of bullets and gunfire upon the hapless and ill-equipped officers of the Nigerian police force and many defenseless Nigerians, he would speed back to his safe haven, with his loot, safe on the laps of power, luxury, and comfort. According to reports, problems started in November 1999, when the then Obi of Onitsha, His Royal Highness, Obi Ofala Okabai, rallied Onitsha youths to help curb the ever-rising crime in the city to enable indigenes who ran away to return for the Christmas celebration of that year. Onitsha youths then sat together with some of the notorious armed robbers to find out how to settle them and have peace return to the city. Chien and Derico were present in the meeting. After the meeting, the deadly Chien refused to stand down. He attacked some members of the Onitsha youth and became even more ruthless in his attacks all around the state. Onitsha youths were forced to seek help from his bosom friend, Derico, but it didn't yield much fruit, so they decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. They liaised with Derico and some special police officers to raid Chien and his gang. The operation was not totally successful because Chien was not present at the time, but members of his gang were rounded up and sent to the central police station in Onitsha. When Chien learned what happened, he felt betrayed by his bosom friend, Derico, and without thinking about the consequences, called on his right-hand man, Amobi, who also doubled as his bike man, to take him straight to Derico's parents' house. On getting there, he met Derico's father and shot him multiple times with lots of bullets. On hearing the news, Derico was livid and set out for revenge. He ran into Chien close to Emmanuel Church at Pamba Road, Onitsha, and pumped in lots of bullets into the great Chien, and the Irako of the underworld fell into a gutter. Derico then put Chien into a wheelbarrow and wheeled him to the police station at Eziakwi, Onitsha. An unconfirmed report claimed that Chien didn't die on the spot, that while in the wheelbarrow, he begged Derico to kill him and not take him to the police station alive. Derico had obliged him and pumped in one final shot to end the evil reign of one of Nigeria's meanest criminals. On getting to the police station, officers of the Nigerian police danced and celebrated while lifting Derico up as their hero and king of the town. Little did they know that they just crowned a more wicked and evil soul as king and protector of Onitsha. Indeed, the Derico that is well known and feared was born on the day he killed Chien. After the death of Chien, Derico became the undisputed emperor of terror in the land and beyond. The entire Anambra state was in soup and the environs were not spared either. At some point, Derico used the town of Omulari as his hideout. From there, he would issue threatening messages to the police, telling them they would pay for killing members of his gang. He also maintained bases in other towns. Traders in Onitsha could not display their wares with peace while many slept with one eye open. Derico sacked commercial banks in Onitsha, carting away millions of naira. Travelers who had to pass through the state held their breath expecting the hoodlum to strike at any time. The then governor of Anambra State was worried sick, thinking about how to handle the menace of Derico. He was described as the personification of terror and dread. The old and the young, men, women and children were terrified at the mere whisper of Derico. He took over people's lands, businesses, wives, and all his members, including members of his family, got away with anything because they were related to him. At that time, he was said to be invisible and could not be arrested. According to reports, Derico killed over 200 people, including 25 police officers whose lives he mercilessly wasted. He was a master of countless bus robberies and never thought twice before pumping bullets into the beating hearts of helpless victims. After his successful raids, he would boast and declare himself invincible and untouchable. Derico seemed to have placed a lot of faith and confidence in the charms prepared for him by the traditional witch doctors he often visited. The then governor was not the only one worried about the reign of terror perpetrated by Derico. Even President Olusegun Obasanjo was enraged that the criminal was left to unleash terror in a part of Nigeria. The police were helpless and had lost many men to the dreaded bandit and seemed at wit's end on what to do to bring him and his gang to book. In May 2001, the Anambra State Police Command launched the Operation Derico, which was aimed at capturing Derico and his gang members at all cost. The police managed to arrest some of Derico's men, but he was still elusive as he kept operating with impunity. In December 2000, Derico and his gang committed the worst crime known to man till date. They attacked a 59-seater luxurious bus filled to the brim with people at the popular Upper Iweka. The bus was about to leave Onitsha for Lagos. After robbing every single person in the bus, they decided to kill everybody on board. Derico gave the orders and his men shot all the passengers, including women and children execution style, and left them for dead. Only 4 people survived the ordeal. After that horrible incident, the then governor of Anambra State didn't have any other choice but to bring in the dreaded Bakassi boys to help save the state. On the 3rd of July, 2001, Derico was on a bus going from Agbor to Onitsha. On getting to the Onitsha axis of the bridge head, the dreaded Bakassi boys stopped the bus. Sensing danger, the crime lord jumped the window to run away, but before he could make the first step after jumping out, the nearest Bakassi member on the scene chopped off his left ear and captured him afterwards. He was taken to Boromayo Hospital for treatment because he was bleeding profusely. When news of his capture broke, every single human being in Anambra State celebrated as if it was the second coming of Christ. Indeed, Derico met his end in an awful manner. Before then, the Bakassi boys had developed a terrible and blood-chilling reputation for dealing with suspects, and Derico's days were surely numbered from the day he was caught. On the 9th of July, 2001, 6 days after Derico was captured at the Niger Bridge, the Bakassi boys did to him what many had earlier predicted. Chanting war songs, they drove in their convoy around the town and ended at the Oshanja Market Junction along the popular Upper Iweka Road in Onitsha. As their buses came to a halt, shouts of excitement and expectation rend the air. Many knew the fate that would befall Derico, so they all trooped to the spot to witness the final judgment on him. Derico was dragged out from the bus, looking gaunt and severely beaten, a trademark of the vigilante group. His body bore cuts and gashes, a testament to what he must have gone through in their hands. He was in obvious pains, but no one seemed to care. Still chanting war songs and egged on by the enchanted crowd, one of the commanders of the Bakassi boys named Akpompi addressed the crowd, telling them they were in the state not for politics but to fight crime. He handed over the microphone to the now trembling Derico, who, like a coward, begged for his life to be spared. He made feeble attempts at declaring his innocence. He confessed that while he was on the run, he was sheltered by a member of the National Assembly in Abuja. He also confessed that he had 2 other powerful protectors, one being a member of the Anambra State House of Assembly while the other was the chairman of a local government council. What was to follow remains one of the most macabre displays of public executions in Nigeria. With the speed of a guillotine, a cutlass handled in the strong arm of one of the Bakassi boys flew and came down with a loud thud on Derico's neck. In a flash, Derico was beheaded. He was only 22 years old at the time. His severed head rolled on the floor before the crowd while his convulsing body collapsed on the ground, with bright red blood gushing from his arteries. The crowd was satisfied, and as far as the Bakassi boys were concerned, that was a clear lesson and message to any criminal bent on making life miserable for the people. With the lifeless remains of Derico still lying on the floor, the people erupted in jubilation, patting one another on the backs and exchanging mutual congratulations. Razor-sharp machetes flew from different directions and chopped his pitiful remains into sizable chunks. Derico's mangled remains were heaped up, fueled and set on fire. Derico burnt to ashes before the crowd.